The Joyful Friar podcast is made possible by the generous support of our friends. To support the podcast, please visit nathan-castle.com and donate today. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Joyful Friar podcast. I'm Father Nathan Castle, your host. Today, happy to have with me two of my regular prayer partners and excellent human beings who you might have seen before, but you'll get to know a little better today. I'm going to have each of them by turn say hello to you and give you their bio or whatever they want to say about themselves. So, ladies, fire away.
I'm Karen Saliba. I'm a psychoanalyst and a marriage and family therapist. Been doing the work for quite a long time, close to 40 years. I live in the Pasadena area. I am addicted to pickleball. Because of that, I get a lot of exercise and enjoy that a great deal. And I have two wonderful daughters and a husband, and happy to be here.
And you're also an author about pickleball.
Yes, it's called The Unexpected Joy of Pickleball.
You kind of hung your head in shame. Like, come on, you're an author.
You don't even have to like pickleball to like the book, I think.
There you go. All right.
That's a big enough plug.
Yeah, okay. Well, that gives us a little thumbnail sketch. So, Kim, how about you? Would you do the same?
Sure thing. Thank you, Father Nathan. It's great to be here. I'm Kim Sharp. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in San Pedro, California, and I work virtually as well. Before I did this work in being a therapist, I used to work in finance for about a decade. So that informs the work I do now. I have recently gotten much more into working out and lifting weights at the local Y, so that's really exciting. I'm also a lifelong sailor. I'm a distinguished Toastmaster.
You and your husband bought your own boat within the last year.
We did. We bought it almost just a year ago.
So is that a larger part of your life, that sailor girl part?
Yes, it is.
All right.
It is. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a lot of work. My husband will tell you it's a lot of work. But it's a lot of fun. And it's wonderful to have people on and welcome people. I feel like having that boat's a little bit of a ministry in a sense.
Oh, okay. So you host people on it and
yeah, from time to time. Yeah, people who may not otherwise have joined us. Yeah. We welcome people outside the sailing world to come on.
Okay. Well, our principal connection, the three of us, is the common work that we do in helping souls who come in a dream to me. We arrange a time. You've each been partnered. Have you been? You were first partnered together, weren't you, on those? And then I must have about 6 to 8 people that rotate in and out. We all have busy lives and things, but that's the principal way that we've gotten acquainted. I remember Kim having dinner with you at an IONS convention. I think we were in Salt Lake City, weren't we? Wasn't that?
We were. 2022, yeah.
Yeah, and we were just people who met at a conference, and I was there unescorted. So when I go to a conference, I'm usually looking for somebody to have dinner with so that I'm not sitting there by myself. And we had a nice conversation, and I think, was it during that conversation that I asked you if you might be interested in this work? I don't recall for sure.
Yeah.
I remember it, but I'm not always trusting my memory these days. Sometimes trustworthy.
I'll join the club.
And then Karen, you and I got acquainted through your family connections.
Yeah, through my brother, Mark. Yeah.
Mark attends the St. Thomas More Newman Center at the University of Arizona, where I live. I'm not employed there, but I'm around the edges of that community, and that's how I got to know Mark. And then somehow
and my sister Susie, and then me. Yeah.
So that became a family connection. And then at some point, I invited you to consider this odd work.
Yes, you did. I think I sent you an email.
Is that it? You were volunteering?
Sharing my appreciation of your work, because I'd read your book in like 2 hours. And then you asked me if I wanted to be a prayer partner after that.
Okay. Well, and my assistant Chantel, I think, was the inspiration about why don't we have those two intelligent women on as a podcast and have them let everybody listen into a conversation between the two of them and me. So I'm uh, and I know that you've done a little prep for this. You've spoken to each other about how this might go. So I kind of want to turn it over to you and let you regale us with stories or do whatever it is you want. Ready, set, go.
You good, Kim?
Sure. Ready, set,
Okay.
go.
So how to hang on to joy in difficult times is kind of the topic at hand. And I think of it like a combination of psychology and spirituality. So for me, joy is a choice. Um, it's not sometimes a very easy choice, but a choice nonetheless. And, joy can be a feeling, right? When I feel joyful, I don't need help when I feel joyful. It's when things are compounding or difficult that I might need some help to hang on to the joy that I know exists. Um, I'll use my husband as an example. I love him, he loves me. We've been married 31 years. Um, uh, Sometimes he drives me nuts, and I'm pretty sure it's the other way around. So if there's ever a time where I get upset about something he either did or didn't do, um, if I have the presence of mind to remember that I love this man, and remember that he loves me, it takes a second and it takes the temperature down, and then we're able to talk about whatever happened, and you're able to stay curious, and then we're able to work things out. Since I work with a lot of couples, what I see is, people get really mad and then they just go. It's just reactive. So hanging on to the joy of our relationship is remembering and holding on to what I know about us, what I know about our history, what I know about where we're going together. And that doesn't mean it's always easy. It just means that I'm so grateful that he's in my life, and that we have each other, that I can hang on to the good, the positive, and not go down the negative spiral that is so easy to do.
Mm. When you note that there's something that's upset you that pertains to him,
Uh-huh.
and you say so, do you guys deal with it in the moment, or do you make an appointment with each other? Do you?
Um, It's a mix of both. Uh, Sometimes it's better to wait a minute, to wait a bit
Hmm.
and say, "Can I talk to you about something?" Um, and then you ask if it's a good time for him.
Yes.
Because hungry, tired, overwhelmed, overworked,
Yeah.
that's not going to be a good time to talk.
Right.
So it's just that if I'm in the red zone and I'm super hot, um, not only am I going to say things that aren't good, I'm also not going to be able to take in anything helpful because I'm so, oof, whatever. So it's very important, with joy or um, resilience or whatever, that we are able to bring it down a little bit, get our wise mind together, and then kind of communicate. And then joy is possible. I really think so. And coming out the other side.
Okay. How would either of you define joy as distinguished from happiness or some other thing that might be kind of a synonym?
I feel like joy is more of a almost like an underlying current. I used to live in San Francisco, and there were lots of above rail trains that had they had this connector to the above rail. I don't know what you call it, but and they would be connected to it. And
Oh,
so I
those streetcars that have the electricity running above them.
exactly,
Mm.
Yeah.
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 And so it's a matter of if joy is sort of always there, kind of like contentment. I feel like contentment can always be there. It's a matter of us sort of getting connected to it, connecting into it,
Hmm.
because I feel like happiness is kind of fleeting. It
Yes.
comes and
Or
goes like other
momentary.
emotions. Right. So that's kind of how I see joy is differentiated from happiness or.
I have different analogies, but kind of the same thing. And, you know, for the last 3 years, this podcast has been The Joyful Friar and your host, Father Nathan. So it's Dominic's nickname. It's not mine. But in the last 3 years, whenever I found myself annoyed about something or someone, and I
Mhm.
begin to have those thoughts that want to turn this into an issue, sadden myself or anger myself, I'll think, you don't seem very joyful to me, buddy. And you call yourself the joyful friar, and then I'll kind of, slap myself and say, snap out of it. You don't need to make this a big deal. There'll be a moment, but and then, my sister Catherine got me certified as a scuba diver. I never really took to it that great. And I always had to fight my body when jumping into deep water with weights on me. And my body didn't want to do it. And so I would want to jump off the boat into the ocean and then stay at the surface, which is the absolute worst thing to do because it's the most tumultuous part of the water. It's the
Mhm.
one with the wave action and the wind and stuff. If you'll only go down a few feet, 10 feet maybe, it calms and you get used to breathing underwater again. And so sometimes use that as an example that I think I might be too near the surface and I need to go deeper. And that
Mm.
just requires a few deep breaths and sometimes for me, exhaling, expiring the anger or the frustration or
I
just
love that analogy.
yeah, it's a
It's a
living
good one.
way. It's
Yeah, because you
with
have to trust that below is better, even
yes,
though it's a little bit counterintuitive.
yeah. Well, Catherine taught me how to hang on to the anchor rope and and let myself down, so I still had something to clutch. She's also very kind about not making me do all of that in full view of other people on the boat because I look like a baby, you or a wimp. So I'd find a reason to be far away from where everybody was entering the water until I was the only one left, and then then I'd slide in and do the thing that I needed to do to get down there. But
Hmm.
you can get there if you try. You can
Yeah.
get to the place where it's calm.
Yeah, I don't think we're trying to say anything like this is an easy process. I live in the Pasadena area, and a lot of my life is in the Altadena area. And the fires came through on January 7th, destroyed a very, very large area. It was really scary. And it was also really devastating to the community.
And you were out of your home
And
for a time, weren't you?
couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were really fortunate because I live in a pretty dangerous canyon and no houses burned where I live, but where I play pickleball, 40 of our friends lost their homes.
Hmm.
And so that's just one park that I play at. I play at three different places. So many, many people have either been displaced because their home is still standing, but they can't move back, or their house burned down with all their stuff. And it was like communal grief. It was really, really hard. But I have seen like the outpouring of love and care and support. And, people need it still because, some people have to fight their insurance or whatever
Right.
these days. So it's just an ongoing thing. And the joy that I went to a little get together last night and it ended up being kind of a large get together of the school where my kids went to elementary school,
Which was
and the
lost in
school
the fire,
burned down.
wasn't it?
Yeah, the school burned down and the church burned down too. And it was just so wonderful being around these young people. They were so joyful and talking, and they hadn't seen each other, maybe a little bit over FaceTime or Facebook or whatever. But there's just so much hope there. And so it's hard times. It really is. Like rebuilding a home is like not easy. But they kind of have each other. And it was just like I enjoyed just watching these young people. And there are a lot of parents there too, but it was just so great.
Mm. Kim, were you very affected? You didn't live near the burn areas, but you're a counselor. Were you ending up counseling people that were affected by all of that?
You know, because I worked in San Pedro by the water, most of my clients were not affected by the fires, but we all knew someone or several people who were. And so there was this collective just sadness that so many people were affected. And there was just so much going on in the world already as it was.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was very stressful, I think, for a lot of people, even if you were not directly affected by the
Yeah.
fires. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a camp counselor in Kerrville in college, where the floods have, you know, killed a lot of children and lots of other people and so on. And even though that was, 50 years ago, 49 years ago, um, you can't help but, um, have a sadness around things like that, knowing that so many people are having such a difficult time. But then, I'm a follower of Jesus, and I do really believe that Good Friday turns into Easter morning, not instantly, but not too far from now either. If you can hold
Hmm.
on for a little while, things will turn.
Kim, do you think it would help us to talk just about how, the steps in the way that either you and I do it or the way we work with people? Because there's, whether it's the election or the fires or the state of the Middle East or health issues or whatever, there's a lot going on. And w- people going spiraling down is not uncommon, and there's no judgment about that. It's, what do we do and how do we help and what can they do to kind of grab that trajectory downward, pull it back up, and then also like go in a different direction.
I think when there is so much going on in the world, it's important to really choose what you focus on. So, how much social media are you taking in? How much news? How much television? It really is important to, I think, limit how much information you're getting from the outside world and focus on the areas that are in your immediate present moment. For many people, luckily, most people that I've worked with, and many people have a roof over their heads. They have enough food to eat. Things are relatively peaceful in at least in the world we live in our vicinities right here in California. That's not true all the time for everybody, that's for sure. But I think it's important to go, okay, what's going on right now in this moment? Am I okay? Yes, I'm okay. Like nothing immediately is happening to me. And at the same time, when we're having strong emotions because things are going on in the world, whether we're excited about the election or we're really devastated by the election, I know people on both sides of the aisle. And remember to, when something is really, really stressful, to acknowledge, okay, this is really hard. It's a matter of validating oneself and one's experience, being present to oneself, being able to reflect back, okay, I'm feeling really stressed out right now because I'm really worried about this and I'm worried about that. And then to acknowledge that and to even go deeper to say, well, given my life and everything I've been through, it makes total sense that I would feel this way. And so that's a way of acknowledging the pain of a certain moment and not sweeping it under the rug. Because I'll tell you, sweeping it under the rug doesn't do a bit of good. It just makes things worse,
No,
you
and
know.
you both professionally help people pull back the rug, find what's under it, clean
That's
it up.
right.
What
Uh-huh.
about you, Karen? How would you take that question?
For me, it's a matter of my faith, and everything Kim said. It's like my self-awareness is hugely important. I know my strengths and my weaknesses. I'm a much more emotional person than Father Nathan. I've known him for, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 years.
4 years, I think.
And yeah, and I'll be crying when he's not. So I'm much more emotional, but that's just me. And I have to realize that sometimes that emotion, it's okay to have it. And then I have to ask myself, like you said, Kim, like, what are the facts here?
Yes.
I'm okay, this and that. And so then I need support of friends. I really do. It's helps me immensely. Like if I called Kim and just shared something that was hard for me, and she just reflects it to me and helps me understand it, I'm actually good to go. So I use my friends and family. So talking about it, hugely helpful. And I just go to what I'm grateful for. And that kind of gets me back to the joy. So it's a step by step process. And, sometimes those steps can take a day or longer, and sometimes it can take 5 minutes,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you. One of the ways that I deal with that kind of thing is to remember that I am both temporary and eternal at the same time.
Mm.
Whatever the issue of the moment is has some importance because it's real and true and happening, but it's never the entire story. I remember going on retreats when I was in college, and in my early part of my career as a campus minister, we did a lot of retreat work. And one of the things that we often did as a retreat began on a Friday night, you might have an hour and a half or 2 hours of material to do on a Friday night before everybody's off to bed. And we used to do this exercise by giving people a great big piece of newsprint, poster-sized newsprint, and asking them first to think about 5 or 10 things going on in their life right now that were on their mind. And then they had to make the front page of a newspaper. That's when people read newspapers and when they were on paper.
Yeah, right.
But then you had to decide the font size of the headline. You had to
Oh,
decide how much space does it get above the fold or below the fold. Uh, where does this land with other issues that all belong somewhere, but you had to format the front page of your newspaper, and then you shared it with somebody else. And and in the thinking about it and then the talking about it, you could contextualize what's going on with me. And then you could take a look back at it and say, is everything here bad news? Is everything about trouble? Was there anything? Uh, anyway, I just remember that exercise. I always found it really helpful to kind of center me and make me realize that sometimes there's some emotional thing that just wants to take up all the oxygen in the room. Something in my brain is going on, and I'm just so upset about it or whatever, and everything else could fall away if I let it. But it's up to me to be in charge of my thoughts. And anyway.
mhm.
I hadn't thought of that particular exercise in a long time, but I always liked what it did for me.
Mm. I think you've said it, Father. You don't like getting bossed around by your
I
feelings.
do not.
And that's a good one for me because I am pretty sensitive and emotional. So it can happen pretty easily if I don't watch out for it. So like the hard work that I talk about, it's not like grinding out hard work labor. It's more like don't forget what you know, be mindful of, okay, I am emotional. I can make this a big deal. Or I can kind of say, maybe this isn't such a big deal, and let's face it.
Let me ask you about this. Do you think that joy is the natural state of things?
I want to say yes and no. I want to say yes. And I
Yeah,
know that even
too.
as I say that, there's going to be people who might see this or listen to this and go, what the hell is she talking about?
Or what is he talking about? I'm the
What
one.
the heck
Yeah,
is
right. Right.
Kim is out of her mind. She thinks that joy is the natural state. And I do think it is, though. And we live in a world of contrast. There is there is a lot of choice and free will in the world, and we can choose to create absolute misery and pain and suffering for ourselves and one another. And I do think that's an incredible gift from God that we were given that choice of choosing our free will. It means that it means we can choose. We can choose a lot of things.
I think you're right, Kim. I think it's yes, but I think with joy comes suffering. So there's always this going on, and so it's a yes and a no. But I do think our natural state is can be positive and joyful and hopeful.
Hopeful. That's interesting. We haven't used the word hope in this half hour that
No,
we've been talking. I'm
yeah.
thinking of in my pastoral ministry, there were lots of times where I was sitting with a family in a waiting room in a hospital or um, emergency room or something like that, where bad stuff is going on and people have reason to be frightened and so on. And my part wasn't to cheer everybody up as much as to be present and to provide some sense of accompaniment, especially from their church because I was priest. But then very often I would see that there might be a toddler in the family that is just climbing on people and giggling about something or wanting to show you something that they were excited about. Uh, Joy doesn't have to like blaze with the light of a thousand suns. It can be a it can be a candle in the darkness. Uh, but
Mm,
but I really do. It's to me. I believe that the universe came from love. That God, who created the universe, is nothing but love. Created everything out of love. Is in every breath I breathe, in every space I occupy, and if I get distracted by events that are powerful and need to be attended to, that doesn't mean that love went away or joy went away. it's it's just that it's having to share the space right now with this issue of the moment. And
yeah,
but I try not to let whatever the issue of the moment is um, uh, completely take over.
Yeah.
one time we did a crossing, Father. I don't think you were there, Kim. I think it was Dave, but the person uh, had a sudden tragic death. But um, the something that was said in the whole transcript was that if you only knew how loved you were, you wouldn't worry about this. And if I can remember that, that's it. I sometimes I forget that. But if I can hold on to that, I think all is well.
Yeah,
Well said. Yeah. I think it's one of the things that I try to convey without words in the work I
Mm,
do. I think we probably both do that. We probably all do that, is convey without so many words how loved every human truly is, kind of no matter what.
yes,
I often will, because I'm highly sensitive too, like you are, Karen, and a lot of my clients are as well. And so we feel a lot of things pretty deeply and pretty often. And I try to really neutralize feelings like they're a communication system. They communicate to us, they communicate to others, they motivate us to action. That's all Marsha Linehan and her work. I want to give her credit. I was
sure.
trained in dialectical behavior therapy, and so that's where that comes from. But they are really sort of neutral. And so it's a matter of, okay, I'm getting this feeling. What is it trying to tell me? There's something here to be curious about, to investigate in a kind of way. Like, okay, what's
Mm,
going on? I would be remiss if I didn't mention if I didn't mention EFT tapping. That was an energy psychology modality that I learned 20 years ago. And when something's really intense, I will do tapping around whatever the emotion is, whatever the issue is. And I teach my
on
clients,
yourself, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you tap on acupuncture points and and it usually brings relief pretty quickly
Hmm.
because you're tapping on acupuncture points while you're talking about an issue.
I see.
And I find that it does bring the activation down if we're willing to spend a few minutes tapping on something.
I think all these things that we're talking about help strengthen us, right? And then we have more to take to an event that might be difficult, right? Because we're stronger and we know ourselves, or we've got the tapping available, or we have the DBT skills, the mindfulness or the self-awareness. And so I kind of have this feeling like, okay, come, I'm ready, let's go, because I know that I've built this strength up over the years. I didn't have it before. I really didn't, but I do after all the work, I have it now to face it, be curious about it, um, acknowledge the emotionality of it, stay connected to the other person, and get to the other side. And so that's what brings me joy, that kind of the process.
I'm wondering, for well, both of you, do you have a way of starting the day that sets you up well? A spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, um, something that you routinely do as part of your, I don't know, spiritual hygiene at the beginning of a day?
I don't do it every day. I try to, but I do it most days.
Mhm.
Suzanne Giesman, you met her at the Eins Farm. I think she was a
Yeah.
guest on your podcast.
Yeah,
And
she's been on the show.
so I did a workshop with her with lots of other people, and she said all it really takes is 3 minutes. And so basically I have a meditation app called Insight Timer, and I set the timer for 5 minutes. And for the first couple of minutes, I just sort of get into a more peaceful place. I do deep breathing. And then by the third minute, I kind of call upon the people that we call upon when we're doing the crossings. So I call on my guardian angel, Mother Mary, and then the other archangels, and Abba and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And I ask, what do I need to know today?
Mm.
And I also, when I feel like I have a pressing concern, I will ask for whatever it is, like either if it's for someone else or for myself or for whoever I feel like needs praying for. I will also do that. So it's a listening and a talking often.
Mhm. Would you mention
Yeah.
that app? And that went by so fast that people might
Oh,
be interested in it. What's the name of it?
so it's called Insight Timer, and there's many, many meditations, and they have a timer. There's many guided meditations. And it's not the only meditation out. There's many others out there.
Of course. All right. Thank you for that. Karen, how about you? How do you start the day?
So I do a little bit what Kim does. So I talk to the people that help us in this work. So I have about 6 people that I say good morning to, and ask for help for the day. And so a couple of them are book people. Some of them, Jesus and Mary and my
What
guardian,
does that
and
phrase mean, book people?
some people who were their stories were in book these two, their stories were in book one, and so I
Afterlife
feel like
Interrupted, you're
they're,
talking about.
yeah, for your book, sorry.
All right.
And I feel like they're there with me and helping out on a daily basis. So I talk to them first, and then I do an app, Hallow, or I do Pray As You Go. So I do a scriptural app, and then little meditation app. And then if I'm working on something that's a little bit difficult, I journal. So I really like to journal if I'm trying to figure some stuff out. And so I have a journal right by the bed, and I'll just do that
Hmm.
before I get going.
Yeah. As soon as my eyes come open and I'm aware that I'm awake, I'll speak to Saint Michael the Archangel right away and
Mhm.
ask for protection. I ask for protection from my guardian angel right away, Philip James. And then I usually scroll through a few other names of people, just say, um, and I'm not talking to them in a distant place. I'm inviting their presence to be with me. So, you know, an unmarried person without a family, and I'm usually waking up to my own surroundings and without anybody else in them. Uh, but I'm never alone. I'm surrounded by the ones that I invite, and frankly, God's there anyway, whether you're inviting God or not. It's this is God's universe, and we're in it. And so
Mhm.
anyway, that's one of the ways I start. And then, of course, I live in a religious order that has a structured prayer schedule. So in this community that I live in, we pray together at 8:30 in the morning. But by then, I'm usually awake for about 3 hours. So I don't wait for that to be the way I start the day. I have my own little quiet time. And it doesn't need to be very much. It can only be a few minutes. It just needs to be um, centering, focusing. And it has something of folk wisdom of counting one's blessings,
Mm,
because it's real easy to wake up to the world's troubles. All you have to do is turn on the TV or look at your email or scroll at something, and before long, um, you've heard of the next mass shooting or the next political turmoil or whatever it is. Before I allow any of that in, I first start the day with a counting of blessings. Part of that for me is calling to mind people who I love
mm,
and reminding myself that I'm loved. And because of the work we've done, many of them are on this plane, and many of them are on the next one or the one after that, whatever it is, here and hereafter. That I'm loved, and then I'm ready to, you know, see what the day is going to bring.
mm. I also kind of have a list of people that I pray for.
Yeah,
That either I've said, you know, I'll pray for you, or I know I want to pray for them, or have quite a few people that have cancer in my immediate, not my family, but friends. And so pray for them daily. And I usually kind of make that a later morning thing. So I
yeah.
have these, blocks of time where I take time out to be mindful.
Mm. Yeah, I'll be 70 years old on my next birthday. And so many of my contemporaries and people that are a little bit older than me are beginning to have more health issues or their partner is or whatever. And so my list of petitionary prayers for health is longer than it was earlier in my life. But I don't do that first thing in the morning either. I don't want to go to, troubled circumstances quite, until I've had my second cup of coffee. Then I'm ready to
Yeah,
do those
yeah.
things.
I'm helped by what Kim said too, which is don't don't go very long on the news. I mean, if you kind of have to know your threshold.
Yeah.
Because I did it. I even just last week, I was before bed, I started watching something or looking at something, and then I had trouble sleeping. And so, yeah, live and learn.
Yeah.
I think it's important to really pay attention when we're watching either a news show or listening, reading, scrolling, like paying attention to the emotion that gets evoked in us. Because you guys probably, I'm sure Karen, you know this, like when we're in fight or flight, and I use this as like a model I use for the brain with clients, but when we're in fight or flight and our amygdala is flailing about wildly, this part of our brain just checks out and we can't think as clearly as logically. And sometimes I think, sometimes I worry, like, do the powers that be want us to be all in a frenzied mess so that we can't think very well? So I think it's just important to notice when we're watching the news, listening to the whatever, like how intense are our emotions getting? And is this what I want for myself?
Yes.
Because I think it can be kind of addictive actually at times,
Well, and
getting
some of that
that
go
state.
crosses into those algorithms that social media companies build into their systems because, I like to watch some YouTube before I go to sleep because there's so many short things on there. I don't want to go to bed and, start a 2 hour long movie. And so YouTube knows the kind of things that I like to see, some puppy rescued or something, and then they'll flood me with
Kitties.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so much a cat person, but I like the ones that there's all these ones of wild animals that turn up at somebody's back door, and then they adopt this, um,
Yes.
whatever it is,
Dear.
some deer is in their house, and some of them are from China or Eastern Europe or whatnot, and I think, oh, isn't that nice? All these people all over the world are being kind to an animal in distress. That I can watch that kind of thing and then turn it off and go to sleep. But those same algorithms will feed you frenzy if that's what you watch, and they'll give you more and more reason to be outraged. And I'm not doing that. I can take in data about world events or political events without being inflamed to uh, anger about it.
Yeah.
I'd like in the
Kim.
last 10 minutes or so to talk. Many people that are in the audience of this podcast know us through the crossing work, and we've made passing references to it, but we haven't given it any focus. I'm wondering if in the time that you've been doing work with souls that we help move along, we started this with joy. Is joy pertinent to the process? Or another question I get asked sometimes is, how has all of this changed you? Um, would you give this audience some insight into how this has affected you over several years?
Um, well, gosh, that's a big question. It's changed in a lot of ways, everything. Um, if we're eternal, then I don't need to be so anxious. And I always kind of ran a little fearful and anxious, even though I covered it up. Sometimes well and not sometimes not so well. And that has changed. Uh, we don't have to be afraid of what's next. And the work has informed that. Even yesterday, Father Nathan and I were on a crossing, and I learned like the powers that be, that the way they can kind of infiltrate is through negative thinking. And so, how easy is it to get negative, you know? And it's like, how easy is it to stop that? It's like, yeah, I can stop it when I notice it happening. So I don't, it sounds trite to say this has changed my life, but it's really changed my life. It's helped me in so many ways. And if I can just be a little bit of a help to people, that gives me great joy.
You, among all the prayer partners that I've worked with, I think I would say that you are the one that seems to take to people and befriend them in an ongoing way. At
Um,
least I think of you as a standout in that kind of way, that some of these people touch your heart in a way that makes them part of your team going forward. Would you say that's true?
yeah. Yeah, one gentleman helps me with one of my clients, and I just ask for help all the time with this one person because he was a psychologist and died just an untimely death in a just wrong, bad place, wrong time, whatever. And then a couple other people are just with me on a daily basis. So yeah, like they seem to want to help, and so I'm open to that. I need that, and sometimes life is hard, and so I could use all the help I can get, and I'm grateful for it. And, just so grateful for the work that we're doing. It is outside the box for a lot of people, so it's not like we talk about it a ton, but it's really made a huge difference for me. And yeah, I'm thanking you for that, Father.
No, I'll take that, what the little part of it that belongs to me. How about you, Kim?
Um, I'll never forget the one of the crossings we did. And I did my usual calling in of Archangel Michael, Raphael, Uriel, and Gabriel. And there was a moment when one of them said, we're at the guardian angel service because Kim called us in, or
Yeah,
something to that effect. And I was like, wow, they really showed up. They showed up because I asked them to. And it was just a profound reminder that when we ask someone to show up, someone, some being of light, whether it be an archangel or Jesus or the Holy Spirit or whatever being of light we ask, like if we ask, they will show up. And so it's a reminder that we really are. Before I believed up here, and I think I believed here too, that we're never really alone. But this work was reminding me, like, that's not just a belief. I know it. And if we need support, if we need help with something, we can ask for it and rely upon it. And that's just huge. Life is not easy a lot of the time. And
Yes,
so
and for the people that we work with in that realm, it ended in a tragic way,
Yeah.
or something befell them before their death that was traumatic. Well, Kim, when you were talking, I'm looking at you on a screen, and when you're talking, you're the big picture, the way that
oh,
Zoom works. And you touched your your cranium to
uh-huh.
talk to reference your thoughts or your intellect, and then you touched your heart, the seat of emotion. And I remind people because one of the things I have to do at a Catholic Mass in the middle of it is lead people in a recitation of a creed, the Nicene Creed or the Apostles' Creed or something. And those can sound like a checklist of dogmas.
Oh, yes. Hmm.
Like when you go to a new doctor and you have to do that pages and pages of do you have this illness or not or whatever. You- You're,
Hmm.
you're assenting or not to a bunch of propositions, and it's belief is from the word beloved.
Hmm.
And when
Oh,
we know
yes.
that we're loved, it floods our mind, our intellect, our heart. It affects all of us and
Yes.
not just a part. And so I try to, in my participation in this work, um, sometimes even though we protect ourselves every time we do this, we always start with Michael the Archangel. We always involve Holy Mary. We have a whole cluster of holy ones. It never, probably in my lifetime, it's never going to stop. There's always going to be people who think I'm exposing myself to demons and whatnot. And I say, but yeah, but what? And I think sometimes they think that these spiritual people, like Saint Michael the Archangel or Holy Mary, are in highest heaven or in another galaxy or something, and that yes, you can call upon them, but you're only going to get this faint signal. You're only going to get some very little low grade thing and not something fundamentally strongly in the here and now. Um, I just think it's basic faith. If you ask, they'll be with you, and
Mhm.
and and if you ask believing that they'll be with you, that's even better. You know, if you presume that the best that you can hope for is that um, you know Saint Michael somebody will take a message and see that he gets it later or something.
Leave a voicemail, the sound of the beep.
Yeah, exactly. Or, Michael's got so many things to do today, he'll send you a, 2 sentence email or something like that. It's just that they're really vibrantly alive with us and that we're
Mhm.
inside God. We're inside what in Christian language, I would say we're inside the body of Christ. We don't have to
Yeah.
go outside of ourselves or call out to distant places. They're right here already. It's just that they can flood our imagination and help us do our work when they're invited.
But we have to
Me-
invite them. Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
go
but
ahead.
the invitation is very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Michael, the archangel? Remember he said, Father, he goes, call me Mike.
Oh my God. That
I
is
know.
so
And it was
funny.
like, it's like that helps me because it's so to hear right here. Mike. Hey, Mike.
Recently,
I
he
love that.
in an unpublished transcript, he mentioned the way he's depicted as a Roman
Yeah.
soldier, and he
Mhm.
Big
said,
sword and yeah.
yeah, he
Mhm.
said when that entered human imagination, it was at the time when the Roman armies were the strongest thing that people could conceive of. Now, they were also domineering. They conquered people at the point of a sword. That they weren't necessarily a force for the good, but they were the strongest thing that people could imagine, and they wanted to think of Michael as strong in protecting heaven, and so they dressed him as a Roman soldier. And he said it's a little silly, the outfit, you know, the little kind of skirt thing and the breastplate and the sandals that go up. And then he said, I don't really need to be violent in order to do my work. You know, I'm depicted with swords and spears and you know, standing on someone's head, or a dragon or a snake or something. He said, I don't need to do any of that um, in order to do my job.
Well, I think it's a reminder that just like, well, and I know you probably know way more about this than I do, but in like in scripture, there's so much context you've got to remember. Like, and that's another, they're speaking to the context of like visioning Michael as with the sword and everything because of the historical context that they were in. So that makes total sense given that time frame. But yeah, it does make him kind of like, like as he's kind of, yeah. So I love that
Well,
might.
anyway, that might
Yeah.
upset some people, but
Oh,
it's my own, it's a private revelation, and you don't have to believe it if you don't want to. But anyway, I
Yeah.
just believe that the universe is made of love, and that love conquers all in the end, and we don't need to love at the point of a sword or spear.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're near the end, so do you have any kind of closing thoughts that you'd like to end on?
I guess I would say um, if people can uh, hold on to joy by just being really aware of when they're losing it and to just grab it back and remind themselves that whatever's going on in the moment is not forever. It's in the moment.
Yeah.
And so don't let it get bigger. Don't let it grow wings. Just take care of it right now. And, I think people can feel strong in their joy if they can do a little bit of work, just a little bit, will take them a long way.
How about you, Kim?
I would be remiss if I didn't say, so sometimes I do work with people who have religious trauma, remembering that even if you're raised with no faith or a faith that was troublesome or traumatizing, that joy is always surrounding you and there's always love always surrounding you, whether you know it or not. And it's just really important to remember where you put your focus.
Thank you. I'm going to add my little coda to the end. We mentioned the word hope a time or two, and as a presider at a Roman Catholic Mass, there's a little prayer that means a lot to me that only the priest says, the congregation doesn't. We're saying the Lord's Prayer at Mass, and we get to deliver us from evil. And if there are Protestants in the congregation, they keep going, and the Catholics stop. For
Yeah.
thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Well, we stop, and we
Mhm.
add this prayer that's called the embolism. Doesn't that sound fatal?
Yeah.
It,
I almost died from a pulmonary embolism. That's hilarious.
yes, yeah.
Wow.
It means an expansion.
Uh,
Now, why, of all the prayers in the Christian universe, we felt the need to expand the Lord's Prayer, which is from the Lord? Why we felt we needed to expand that one, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know its history, but it's part of the liturgy. And we get to deliver us from evil. And then the priest, and sometimes it's musical. The choir has been leading us through a sung version of the Lord's Prayer, but they'll drop out and maybe play a little bit of undertone music. And my line is, deliver us, Lord, from every evil. All those in favor? Would you like to be delivered from evil? Well, I kind of would. Deliver us from, grant us peace in our day. That'd be nice too. In your
mhm.
mercy, keep us free from sin. That'd be good because it has only negative outcomes. It hurts somebody. Keep us free from sin and protect us from all anxiety.
Mm.
That'd be nice. This is a version of it that was changed in 2012, but it's the version that I know by heart because I've been a priest a long time. The word craft varies a little by translation, but and then it ends with, "As we wait in joyful hope for the coming of our Savior Jesus Christ." All right. Hope always is about something not fully present or fully attained. It's
Yeah.
always something that it could be near future or possible, but could we wait in joyful hope rather than in anxiety about the future? And that's from 40 years of presiding at Catholic Mass, that one has lodged in me. I I try to wait in joyful hope, even when in my personal life I have reason to feel otherwise. I just think,
Mhm.
all right,
Mhm.
buddy, time to buckle up, wait in joyful hope because good things are coming. This has been a joy to be with two of my beloved prayer partners, Kim and Karen. If you'd like to be in touch with either of them, you can go to my website, which is nathan-castle.com. If you want to comment to any of us, that's a really good way to do that. If you watch this on YouTube, there's always the YouTube format of making a comment at the bottom of a video. But if any of us can be of help to you, you can try just going on nathan-castle.com and going to the contact button. It asks you for your basic, name, phone number, and time zone. I don't like to be calling somebody at inappropriate times in the middle of the night or something. So if I know where you are, that's helpful. Okay. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. All right, that's been this episode of the Joyful Friar podcast. I hope you will join us the next time. Remember that I pray for you regularly, and when I do, my interest is particularly in where does it hurt? You know, uh, if I could send you medicinal prayer, if I could help you get to the root of where there's something in you that causes you pain or holds you back in some way, makes you less than fully free, I pray that the Holy Spirit will work its way into whatever crevice that might be um, found in, and that healing prayer will go where it's needed. But for now, that's it. I hope you'll join us the next time on the next episode of the Joyful Friar podcast. God bless you. Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Joyful Friar. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can visit me at nathan-castle.com. Send me a message by clicking the contact button. God bless.
Have you ever had to do something so difficult that you had to deal with it in stages? Imagine dying suddenly with no forewarning, being in a car crash, a shooting, a drowning. You leave your body, but then what? How do you transition into the afterlife? For some, it flows all at once, but not for everybody. For some, the process of transitioning into the afterlife is interrupted. Maybe there's a need for rest or for learning, or maybe just the chance to adjust to such an abrupt experience. I'm Father Nathan Castle. I'm a Catholic priest. About 23 years ago, the Holy Spirit began to send me people who had died traumatically. They entered my dreams during sleep, showing me what had happened to them and asking for help. They had died and moved on, sort of, but they'd come to a moment where it was time to complete the crossing. With the help of the angels and saints and earthly prayer partners, we've assisted more than 300 souls as they complete their crossing. You can read about it in my book series. Afterlife Interrupted books are available on Amazon. You can also learn more by visiting my website, nathan-castle.com. God bless you.